exciting. Welcome to the much anticipated fourth installment of the Austin Ableton 8-week workshop series. Right at the night, hey everybody. Great series of events and beyond. We've had a lot of people streaming with us and getting inspired from our speakers in Texas and all parts of the United States. This is presented by the Austin Ableton user group. Welcome to the much anticipated fourth installment of the Austin. And I'm your host for this evening. Right at the night, hey everybody. Great series here in Austin and beyond. We're really excited to do this. It's going to be a really fun night. We've got two very knowledgeable musicians with us tonight. And don't forget that these streams and workshops are for you, our members of the community. Welcome to the much anticipated Ableton users in Austin and beyond. So I'm your host for this evening. Right at the night, hey if you have any questions, let us know in the comment section. I'm really excited to do this. It's going to be a really fun night today. Go ahead and drop your links, share with one another. And don't forget to get to know each other. And yeah, let's have fun tonight. We've got another great lineup, like I said. And beyond. So I'm your host for these presentations from right at the night. If you have any music makers that are let us know, inspire me. But before we start, I want to remind everybody, go ahead and drop your links. Tom Carlisle, don't forget to get to know each other. And yeah, let's have fun tonight. We've got another great lineup, like I said. And beyond. So we've been working really hard to create a lot of virtual spaces. Right at the night. If you have any music makers that are among those, Facebook group me. But this will start, and I want to remind everybody, go ahead and drop your links. So Tom Carlisle, don't forget to get to know each other. Join us, and yeah, let's have fun tonight. We've got another great lineup, like I said. Days on all of our events. And we've been working on our Facebook group, Facebook spaces. Right at the night. If you have any music makers and among those, Facebook group me. And this will start, and I want to remind everybody, go ahead and website highlights.com. Like I said, people have been Carlisle. Don't forget to get to know each other. Join us, and yeah, let's have fun tonight. We've got another great lineup, like I said. Days on all of our events. So our first presenter is joining us from Florida. Is Austin, Texas. She's going to share our mirrors and she's very knowledgeable. Please welcome FTGO.com. Like I said, people have been Carlisle. Don't forget to get to know each other. Join us, and yeah, let's have fun tonight. Hey, Leah. So our first presenter is joining us from Florida. Is an official welcome. She's going to share our mirrors and please welcome FTGO.com. Like I said, people here officially don't forget to get to know each other.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
let's have fun tonight. Yeah, please, Leah. So our first presenter is joining us from Florida. Is an official welcome. She's going to share our mirrors and
Yes, thank you. I appreciate
yeah,
that.
so yeah, please, Leah. So our first presenter is joining us from Florida. Is an official welcome. She's going to share our mirrors. All right, great. So yeah, like I said, I'm really excited on the stream with us because I've been following your work. It's going to be a really exciting time. Yeah, please, Leah.
And one tour in the U.S. with Sophie Tucker in the U.S. and with Mute, this techno marching band in Europe, which is going to be amazing. And my agent out there had booked, I was going to live in Berlin this summer and play a bunch of gigs. And so when this quarantine happened, I thought, my world just ended. It's over for me. And, more like right when it hit, I really realized we're in the U.S. be a long time. And I'm a dance artist. I make house music and music for the dance floor. And so my agent out there, I felt really scared and terrified. And also I started, trying to get into the studio and feeling like, oh wait, is there an audio issue?
Yeah, actually, I'm getting some feedback here. Let me go ahead and pause real quick, if that's okay with you. I'm going to pause the stream back and take care of these All right, everybody, we're back with Leah. Sorry for that technical difficulty. We had some feedback going on and it's taken care of. But yeah, Leah, this is a
Yeah,
really
so I
exciting
was,
company right now.
yeah, I was saying, and I was, scared and terrified, but I started to sort of, I'd go in the studio and like thinking about making music for no dance floor was really sad. But also, it's sort of, I'm a jazz piano player by trade, so I went to school for, and it sort of kind of got me to slow down. I mean, in all parts of my life, but also musically, and really just think about like I wanted to hear things that were beautiful because I was feeling sad and scared. And that led me to my latest release, Meet Again, featuring Little Boots. And that release has completely changed my life. And so it's kind of like the silver lining, for sure. It's been a wild ride. It's added to radio, and it's been um, on some big Spotify playlists, and it just sort of, now I'm in sessions with all these. It's just like kind of everything just started snowballing, and it's wild to think, what slowing down can do. So I'm just trying to really like learn that as a lesson. Sort of, I've made a lot of music during this time, and it's all been so different than what I had made in the past, and I like it so much more. And I never would have done that had this not happened. So yeah, it's been wild, and I'm excited to dig more into producing a little bit more beautiful, a little bit more meaningful music, but always with Ableton. So this is exciting to be here.
Oh, that's great. That's a really cool, inspiring story. In quarantine, total lemon into lemonades.
Yeah, it's still emotionally a hard time. I think
Yeah.
that nothing like what I'm learning from this is like, even though like my wildest dreams are coming true, turns out what does fuel me the most, more than any of those other things, is the dance floor. It's like really that feedback loop with other people. So which is a good lesson to learn, but I'm really missing it.
Well, I think some other positive ways that you've connected with the community are through organizations like FemHouse, and I really wanted you to have the opportunity to share with the people
Thank you.
streaming what FemHouse is all about and what you created with FemHouse.
Oh, thanks for asking. Yeah, so FemHouse is my nonprofit. We officially became a 501c3 last year, and I love this organization so much. It is tangibly a monthly workshop. It was in Los Angeles. I used to live in LA, and it was an in-person monthly workshop at IO Academy, where it was a safe space for women, non-binary, women of color, to come and learn how to use Ableton and produce music. Since the pandemic happened, we moved it online, which has been great because it's allowed more people to join. And then we also rolled out more intensive month-long courses that dive into each monthly topic a little bit more intensely. And so we rolled out the first one, Intro to Ableton, which is accessible now. And every 2 months, we'll be rolling out a different in-depth series. And it's just it's similar to what you do, just making sure that we are helping community and mentoring and the industry side of things and the production side of things. And I first moved down to LA to join an all-female electronic band that was put together by one of the producers in Daft Punk, Peter Franco, one of the engineers and producers. Actually, the first synths that I ever touched were the Moog Voyagers from the Pyramid Tour, which was crazy. Yeah, that's how I started learning how to synthesize. I had such a great experience in that band, but we were always in the studio with other male producers, and again, great experiences. But it wasn't until I heard that Grimes produced her own records that I even thought that could be a role for me. And I was raised by hippies who were like, you could do anything, but there's no visual representation of myself in that role. So I just never even occurred to me, which then made me go, what else do I not think I can do? Because I don't see myself there. So it just became important to me to develop a community to, have women helping other women get comfortable learning the language of the studio, and changing the there's still in the Grammys, 2% of the producers are women. So trying to change that, just because ultimately I think, in the production of a song really shapes the outcome of it, and that ultimately is our voices. So at least understanding it on some basic level I just think it's important for all those artists out there.
That's a great impulse to follow, and I think you're definitely creating part of a sea change, because it feels like I've been inspired by a lot of female peers in the music industry, and I see them doing amazing things, and it's really inspiring.
Thank you. Yeah, Ableton has been amazing at so they supported our launch. Our very first workshop was at one of their studios in Los Angeles, and they've just been above and beyond supportive and wanting more women to be using their program and their DAW, and it's been so inspiring to see. Like once you put something out in the world, it's like you never really know how it's going to be interacted with, and the amount of positive feedback has been so inspiring, and the world is a really good place, and this is affirming of that.
What a great message to hand the stream over to you.
Yeah, I know it's a weird time right now in the world, but I believe in it. I still believe in the goodness of people.
Absolutely. And I'll be posting links to FemHouse during your presentation so folks can catch up on what's going on there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, the stream is yours, Leah.
Cool.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. All right. Let me make this big. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about Magenta Studio, which is Google's Max for Live suite. So it's a collection of music plugins built on Magenta's open source tools and models. So essentially it is machine learning techniques for music generating. And let's see. So here are the different plugins. So the first release includes 5 apps, and you can find them as Max for Live plugins, like I said. Generate, Continue, Interpolate, Groove, and Drumify. And so let's start with Interpolate. This one is probably my favorite because when I'm making music, oftentimes I start, my inspiration is usually a reference track. I'll be playing a DJ set and a song will come on and it'll hit just right. And I'll try to make a mental note like, I love the drums in this track, or like, I love the bass line in this track, or I love the piano loop in this track. And obviously you don't want to just copy somebody, but using it as inspiration is usually a good jumping off point. And that's kind of the point I think of all of these tools. Obviously, once we work with machine learning to create something, it's then our job to continue that. But I think the hardest part, at least for me, is just like getting something in the session. Because once you have something in there, one thing leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, and then you're like in the flow of the song. But until that moment, it's like, how do you like just the starting point, just getting that match lit. So I find Interpolate to be really awesome. And I'm just gonna go ahead and sample it. So Amber Rose is one of my fun, silly tracks. I'm gonna play a little snippet of it. And I pop some bimbos. I Amber Rose on these hoes. Amber Rose on these hoes. Amber Rose on these hoes. Then I pop some benzos. Okay, so that's a little snippet, and the bass line is what we're listening for here. And I pop some bimbos. I Amber Rose on these hoes. Amber Rose on these hoes. Okay, so obviously not a singer. So then we have Jay Wara. She's another female producer based in LA who I love. And this is one of her tracks. Okay, so I went ahead and just did a little pre-work, and I remade, because all of these are MIDI. You need to have the MIDI in order to interact with these plugins. So I remade the both bass lines from each song. Here is the Amber Rose bass line. You can see it better. Okay, and then the Jay Wara. So, let's say you have these 2 inspiration tracks when you're starting your song, and a fun thing to do is to interpolate between them. So gonna open that up. Oh, let's see, can I not have, maybe I can't have full screen. Okay, so we have interpolate opened. And you can do this for drums or melody. In this case, I'm trying to come up with a new melody. So you choose the track. and both of those MIDI parts are on the bass interplay track. And then you choose clip A, the Amber Rose one, choose clip B, the Jay Warrer one. And the temperature is just how much it will sort of vary between the two. And let's see. So it's going to output 3 clips onto 3 different clips onto the slots, clip slots 3 through 5. Maybe actually do a little bit of a variation. And then generate. Boom. New material. New source material. Okay, let's listen to the first one. The first one sounds pretty similar to the Amber Rose one. Okay, kind of a combo of the two, obviously. And this one sounds most similar probably to Jay Warrer one. You know what? I'm actually going to do this again. And I'm going to vary the temperature more. And also add more steps. Just because you get more variance in that, obviously more options. Okay, generate. Cool. I'm just gonna pop down to this one. Listen to this one. Maybe I'll just put, I have this drum loop going. You can hear some. Woo! Like that. Okay, now we're grooving. Yeah, that's fire. Wow, cool. Okay, so Drumify is another one of the options. And so Drumify creates a groove based on the rhythm of any input. So it's used to create a drum accompaniment to a bass line or a melody, or to create a drum track from a tapped rhythm. So you can, like record yourself tapping a rhythm on a desk or something, and it will create a drum beat based on that for you. But I think this one's really cool because it's like we have the melody, now we want to come up with a groove for it. So this is the melody that I want to come up with a groove for. I'm just going to go ahead and drag that onto this track that I have a battery kit loaded. And also because I make dance music and pretty much consistently want it to hit, I'm going to turn this velocity tool all the way on to make sure that when we create a beat, everything is raised. Okay, so I'm going to open up Drumify. Okay, so choose track 4 and this clip. And the temperature 1 is like pretty in the middle, pretty even. So let me stop everything. So let's hear how they go together. Interesting. I'm gonna drag this same MIDI information onto this other track that I made. Pretty groovy. I personally would probably like add some 16th hi-hats to make it feel a little bit quicker. That's just my personal taste. Okay, cool. So moving on, groove. There's also groove is one of the, I'm not going to demonstrate this one because I think it's kind of self-explanatory. It just sort of humanizes the output, the product with velocity and timing. That's sort of something that Ableton already has naturally in, right here, the groove. But yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. Is there a second window that you're sharing? Like a plugin window? Because I think you're sharing just the Ableton screen and not, if you do a shared desktop.
Oh, you know what? Yeah. Okay. Yep. Let me do that. So I'll stop sharing and then reshare.
Yeah, let's do that.
Cool.
Sorry to interrupt. That's really interesting stuff.
No, I'm glad that you told me that. Thank you. Desktop. Okay.
Yeah, we've got some really, really helpful engineers
virtually
helping us. Yeah, totally.
Ah, darn it. That was been there the whole time. Okay. It's good to know. Well, I have more things to demo, so we're good. Okay, I am gonna talk about continue now, because to me, continue, like the last two, continue and generate, are very interesting. Okay, so continue, which you'll find here. It predicts where the pattern can go next. It can finish or create a variation or an idea. It can be used for melody or a drum beat, and it can extend up to 32 measures. So let's say I like, this is one of the clips that I liked from Interpolate. So I'm going to open up continue. Now that you can see it, I'm going to go to melody. I'm going to choose the track. It is on the bass interplay track, and it is the 4/5 M Rose plus J Wara. And let's say we want to make it 4 bars. There's going to be 4 variations of it. I'm going to turn up the temperature a little bit, just get a little bit weirder. Generate. Just saying it's going to go over one of the other clips. That's totally fine. Boom. Let's hear what they gave us. Here's the MIDI information that I created. Cool. And then this is, whoa. Okay. Yes, turnaround. Sped up turnaround at the end there. Let's see what else they got. See, as they move through, each clip gets a little bit more intense, and then further away from the original at the end, the last 4 measures. Okay. Sometimes it feels like I could have just, randomly hit notes on the keyboard also, but sometimes it feels really intuitive. Okay, cool. So that was just an example of continue. Now, this last one is super interesting, and it is called generate, because it straight up generates melody from no source material, which is wild. So I have this just a piano sound loaded onto this track, and I'm going to pop open generate. And let's say you can do it for drums or melody, but in this case, like to generate some melody, I'm going to choose the piano drumify track that I've already loaded, and then slot 1. It's going to give us 8 variations. Turn up the temperature just a little bit. Boom. Wow, this is crazy. Here it is. I mean, this could be a really cool bass line. Oh, I have an ass track loaded here with an ARP on it. I mean, this could be the beginning of a house track with a lot more work, but still pretty cool. Let's see. Let's try continue on a drum track. So I have this Instant House, another Max plugin. loaded, and I'm going to do, we're going to try continue with this. Open up. Or do I want to do, actually I'm going to do generate a new beat onto this track. Okay, so do it for drums. Instant house track. Cool. Wait, am I on the right? Oh, instant house generate drums. Slot 2. Okay. Okay, let's see some beats. Ooh. Just generated some new beats. Tom in there. Let's just, see what happens. Okay. Oh, music is so fun. So essentially for me, I really see these as, I'm a solo artist, and I try to get into the studio with other people as much as possible, because I think collaborating is such a fun process. But when I can't be in the studio with somebody else, I really think of this process as, my ability to collaborate with another brain, even if that is a robot brain. And because, once something that comes outside of my own brain is thrown into the picture, then I get to take that and do what I need to do to it, and then maybe split it back into the system, and then take that, and then there's this really cool feedback loop. And I think that some people I think AI can be a scary, weird topic, but I really see this as a collaborative tool that, once it's created and made, we still then have to, add that LFO tool or saturation, or, spice it up a little bit, or, do the production work. But it's just a great starting place that I think can get our creative juices flowing. And I found these tools to be really helpful when I'm sort of hitting a block, if you will. So that's what I have for you. I'm going to stop sharing the screen.
That's awesome.
So I can see
somebody had a question. They asked if you wouldn't mind showing the interface for Interpolate, which I think was the first one.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, let me go back to that. Hold on. Desktop.
Thanks for hanging in there with all the technical difficulties today, by the way.
It's good to know. Interpolate, was that it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so Interpolate, they all kind of look the same, really nice, clean interface, actually. And I have this, we can interpolate, I need two things. Okay, so like before, so you choose, I want to interpolate melody, you choose which track it's on. This one's titled Bass Interpolate. And then you choose between Amber Rose, the J War ones, these two that I have the MIDI information for. And then you generate. And then these ideas were born. Any other questions?
Yeah, I think this is an awesome quarantine companion, by the way.
Exactly. Yeah, it's funny. I discovered this, pre-quarantine. I had a show in San Francisco, and I think, I don't know who set up, my manager or something, ended up setting up a meeting with one of the gentlemen who's working on this application at the Google office. And so got to go, and so they're also creating hardware instruments right now. So I went and took a demo and was just like my mind was blown. But I definitely have used the tools more now during quarantine. I'm just like, okay, what is going to happen in the world? Just, it's okay. Sit down, make some music with a robot.
It reminds me of what our first guest on the series said. Yuda, a fellow Ableton CT, said that like he sees the future as being where producers are more like operators of these processes, and we use our discretion to make music with these processes.
Totally. I kind of think of myself sometimes as like, an A&R almost. It's like, okay, what, and even when collaborating and working with other people, it's like, it's a lot of it is just your taste, and kind of weaving, like going through, sorting through what is good and what's bad and saying yes to that, no to that. And so it kind of helps me build up my ear and that skill set when working in this way.
Yeah, great example of technology and humanity like not blurring each
Totally.
other's lines, like actually.
Totally. Yeah, we need both still. Very, we definitely need our own ears very much, but that's always going to come down to our ears. But it's just a fun creative process.
Speaking of process, somebody was asking how you've incorporated these into your process. Have you, because just watching you play with these seems like that could be it, right? Just exploring, and it forces you to listen back, sort of.
Yeah, totally. Sometimes there's been a few sessions where I didn't use anything that I had, you created while working with the plugins. But what it did was, I kind of open a session, throw a magenta on it, sort of start playing with things. And then like, you just sort of like then are engaged. It's like, the beginning deep breaths of a meditation or something. It's like you have to just start the process and then your ideas kind of start flowing. And then I just threw everything out and started the session. And so in that way, it was sort of like a warm up for me. But the interplay is really interesting to me because I often do work with reference tracks and like I'm super inspired by, this song I heard and this how the piano and the drums interacted. And I really love these piano chords and, and so finding replaying the piano chords, that helps me learn what the chords were and putting those into MIDI form and then interpolating them between something else. So it kind of comes up with a new source, and then from there, reworking the loop and, retuning things and maybe adjusting a few of the notes here and there. And, that's how you can flow into the end product.
Do you have anything on your wish list as far as technology where like it hasn't gotten there, or anything that you're like thinking of that you haven't found? Maybe somebody can share it with
Honestly,
us in the comment.
I'm definitely not smart enough to like think up something that like in the tech world at least that hasn't happened yet. But I do know an interesting band who has really worked intensely with Magenta, a band based in Portland called Yacht.
Yeah.
YACHT. They created it. Their last album, I believe it's their last album, was made entirely through this process. But they didn't have the plugins hadn't actually been invented yet. So they were, like going and sitting with these like massive machines and teaching them their songs, and then they would spit out new information. And they had to. I mean, it took them, I think, years, but they made an entire album based on using machine learning and based on all of their old past songs.
Wow.
Like, so all the lyrics, even everything from top to bottom, every single part. And then they, got all this information and then edited it, but everything, all the MIDI notes and all the sounds and stuff were generated by a machine first. It's really, and there's been a lot of articles written about it, and it's really, really fascinating.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, that was like 2 years ago, right?
Oh, it was only 2 years ago? Yeah, okay,
I think
that's
so, 2 or 3, but now, like, it's crazy how it's
the
on Max for
technology.
Live now.
Totally. The technology, how quickly I mean, sometimes it feels, I actually was just talking to I had a call earlier today with one of the gentlemen who helped design this technology, and he's actually going to work for TikTok and making some new cool toys over there.
Mm.
But the things that they're working on are almost, they feel scary. I know that's just my ego because it makes me feel like they're putting us out of a job. But I think that if we're still alert and using this in a correct, exciting way, it will really just further our own creativity.
Yeah, really, really good words of wisdom to share about technology. 'Cause sometimes, working in music technology, you deal with people that are still sort of on the fence about it, and
Yeah,
I always tell people technology's been designed to assist you, right? Like, it's still there
totally.
to help us and be stable for us, and,
Yeah. I know.
I
I mean,
really.
even working in laptops, right? Like there was a time where to be a musician or record, you had to go into a recording studio. And the fact that we can make computer music using Ableton in our laptops is So crazy, and thank goodness.
Yeah. Do you travel a lot? Do you
Oh
perform,
my
or I
gosh,
guess
yeah.
in the past iteration of this
Yeah.
existence?
Pre this, yeah, I was touring about 10 months out of the year. And so when I tour, I DJ, and then I have play the piano, and I actually end up adding in TR8S and a TB3 into my set, because
Hmm.
when I was on the road, I wanted to have the TR8S also acts as an audio interface. And like, I just realized like I needed, if I was going to be on the road for so many days, I needed a few more pieces of gear that I could also write music with while
Right.
traveling. And so so I sort of just figured out a way to sneak them to justify bringing them everywhere and sneaking them into my live set. But yeah, I definitely I probably start the most of my ideas on airplanes.
Mm.
You know, like no Wi-Fi, you're like in the clouds. I feel like there must be some tie between your brain being free and creating. Um, Obviously it's really hard to mix and hear the bass when you're up in the air, but that's, yeah, I definitely start a lot of my ideas with just my laptop and traveling on in a car or a train or an airplane.
Mm. That's cool. Well, thanks for being so generous and sharing with us.
Yeah,
This is really cool. I hope people get inspired. I hope people support FemHouse. I hope
thank
people go
you.
out and check out Magenta, Max for Live plugins, and start playing with them.
Cool, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to stay tuned.
Welcome to Austin.
Thank you, thank you.
about you every time. Is it any wonder just how I stay alive when I hear your voice calling, but you're nowhere near in sight? I suffer for you. I suffer. I suffer for you. Should have started running. I should have seen the signs, but it came without a warning, snuck up from behind. There's something in my coffee, but perhaps it's my lack of insight. But I don't wanna own it any more than you tonight. Oh. I suffer for you. I suffer. I suffer for you. I suffer. I suffer for you. Hello and welcome to my studio. My name is Antonio Sage and I'm a certified Ableton instructor. I'm just going to remove some of this processing here. And I will walk you through some of my session and what I just did here. A song called Suffer. And I'm going to switch to this view. So what we have here is this is my session, and as you can see, I still have my vocal running through the distortion, so that sounds better, I hope. So my session, or my setup at the moment consists of a couple of controllers. Obviously, I've got my Ableton push, which that's to my left here. And I'm actually running Boots and Cats, which is my drum machine with Audioutlaw. And it can be controlled via push, so it becomes like a standalone drum machine. If I solo and press play, you can see that these buttons here are the mute buttons, and I can activate them, and it should start playing right away, just like any other drum machine. You've got 16 patterns here and four modules, and you've got the regular matrix that you can use to enter your beats. So this is the kick module. This is the snare module. So you can enter beats on the fly. And this is the hi-hat module. Closed hi-hat there. We're actually using some open hi-hats, which is the second one up here. So that's what you're hearing. We're in triplets, which is why it sounds like that. You can actually change the sounds by selecting them right up here. You can turn them up, tune them, right. Very easy to use. And once again, these are 16 patterns here. Pattern number 1, pattern number 2, 3, 4. I was playing Boots and Cats along with some loops on that particular song, so I can show you that as well. Let me exit that from here. And yeah, well, basically that's Boots and Cats, and that's available at audioutlaw.com. That's my that was my commercial for my software. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, then I can show you the session. I've got a couple of different scenes here, and as you can see, they are titled by the beats per minute, and that makes it such so that the tempo of the song will automatically read that. If you just type in the beats per minute, in this case it's 66.63 BPM, very, very specific there. And you just type the words BPM right afterwards and go right ahead and press that scene, play that scene, and that would be scene 1. And let's go through some of these instruments here. Wrong song. This is the one, Suffer, right over here. So I'm just going to open that up. And these are my instruments. First I've got the drums, which are grouped together. You've got this loop right over here, which is running through one of my favorite new compressors, which I wanted to talk about from my friends at Clev Gear. Now, this here is it's an EQ, obviously, kind of like a Pultec with 2 additional knobs, I guess. But what I like about this is that it's not a transparent EQ at all. Actually, it's pretty colorful sounding and grainy, and I appreciate that because sometimes that's what I want to, incorporate into the mix. So here are the frequency sweeps here. These are the gains from 120 to 3.5 kilohertz. And then it's got this dynamic processor here with a Q. Same thing right over here from 800 to 8K. You know what? Just trust me, download the demo, check it out. You're going to find this to be an interesting addition to your collection. I feel that it's, once again, not a specifically an EQ that you're going to use when you want a transparent EQ. Of course, Ableton's channel EQ and EQ8 are the go-to EQs most of the time, but sometimes you just want a little bit of flavor, and as you could hear, there's a graininess to that track. Next is another plugin from the same company, and this one's called Corv Pressor. And this is interesting because you can see a graphic representation of the audio coming through. Here you have the input, which, as you can see, you can hear it's going down in dBs. Now you can increase its input until it's maximized. And I'm just going to go up to the output here. And this is your output, right? And of course, there's the squeeze parameter, which allows you to visualize what's happening with the whole thing. And I just think this is awesome. It's also a little bit colorful sounding. Most of the Clev gear stuff has a little bit of a flavor to it. So this also has some EQ and some basic attack ratio and release compressor parameters. Your look ahead, and you've got some parallel processing going on here as well. So that's my first loop. Second loop, which can be heard on the second scene. Now this one has some automation going on. Not here, but on number 3. So I'm going to play that. I'm going to solo that. So I'm incorporating another Clev gear. I mean, I'm not selling for these guys. I just love their stuff. This one's called DAW cassette. And what this does is it just makes stuff sound, again, just really kind of murky and crappy like cassettes used to sound, but you know, it's nostalgic for those of us that remember it. Actually, it's being used on the next scene, so I'm going to move on to that, and I'll show you what happens here. There it is. So that's cool. So it just kind of brings the mix of the drums back, and you hear that in my verse where I'm trying to create a kind of a dramatic, sneaky kind of vibe going on right there. So here's what it sounds like without the automation, just straight up. Got the motor quality parameter, which I guess increases the quality or decreases it. Same for the head. And the tape quality. This is really crappy tape there. You've got normal, chrome, metal tapes. So metal tapes sound better apparently. Chrome ones, not so much. Normal, forget about it. So you've got parallel processing here as well. This plugin, or most of these that I'm showing you today, are all about color. Just adding richness, sandy, kind of grit, lo-fi vibe to your mixes. So that's loop number 2, and we're going to move to loop number 3, which happens sometime over here. Well, and it just happens to be just a really low kind of 808 vibe thing, and it is not a loop as much as an actual drum rack performance. So that's that. And yeah, also it's running through Drum Bus by Ableton, which of course is why it's so dope sounding. It's not even using the boom parameter. Imagine if it did use the boom parameter. Well, let's not imagine it. Let's try it. Ooh. Sorry, I should have warned you about that. Blowing your speakers. Hope not. Loop number 4. So another go-to EQ. I told you I like it, and Drum Bus as well. Let's see what's up with this. Yeah, so just more snares, because producers love snares. And then we have our Rhodes, which is a very important part of this whole thing. And I'm going to just solo both of them, and I'm going to show you where they come from, because I actually think this is a really cool collection. And this is the saturated stage, and it comes from the, where is it? Well, you would think I would have had this down packed already for you. Let's look for saturated stage then. Right, there it is. Sonic Culture Electric Pianos. I'm just gonna look at the default lesson, which will open this up here so you can see it. It's available at Ableton, and it's just a great collection of Fender Rhodes, you know, retro vibe pianos. Highly recommended. And I actually owned a few Fender Rhodes throughout my life, and I always end up kind of getting rid of them because some of these sample collections just kind of do the job for me. And this is definitely my latest crush, my latest Rhodes crush. So yeah, so those are the Rhodes, and the main part of the song revolves around this syrupy string part. Get rid of that. I've already turned these into audio, but they're contact strings, and a couple of others, I think an Omnisphere as well, and geez, I don't remember. So yeah, you've got strings, and I don't have any processing on them anymore because they were not necessary. I probably had a compressor or and an EQ as well. That's standard for most things, right? And it is grouped together, and of course there's a EQ right there, and it's focusing on the high frequencies, of course. You can hear the shininess comes from using this, and that would be too much shininess. And again, a really cool sounding EQ, highly recommended. And yeah, next is my bass guitar, and yeah, that's just this guy right over here, my Warwick. And just love this bass guitar too. That active sound is just a very simple bass line, which was actually played using the looper, and I turned it into audio. I dragged it out, and it just has a little bit of side chaining from the 808 channel, which is right over here, and I can solo that. If you have a subwoofer, as I do, then you can hear that vibe between those two. Yeah. So as we continue down the scenes, we've got this dramatic crescendo kind of thing that actually adds another choir kind of thing. I believe it was from Omnisphere. And I took away open that again, the stop buttons here, because you can change the beat and the scene, but still maintain the whole passage. I'm going to try that again. I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So I'm playing that scene, right? And the strings will remain the same when I switch to the next scene. So the strings are still playing. I can then change to the next scene. Obviously there wasn't a sound on that last note there. It's like the violin player gave up. And then this scene, which kind of brings it down, and I start messing with Boots and Cats a little bit. And then there's the final hit, which should have been a final hit had I simply gotten rid of Boots and Cats there, and you would have heard this, just the final 808. Yeah, and that's my first song, and it's called Suffer. I know it's a melodramatic title, but it is something that a friend and I wrote many years ago together, actually. And let's see, it's just great to play it again. And that's it for that. We'll take a break and play you another song. Thanks for watching.
3.
Inside my head, I swear I thought I heard it on the radio. Taking me to somewhere in my past, when life was like a movie on the picture show. I couldn't get you off my mind today. I wonder what it would be like to know you once more. Do you still run around circles? Has your life taken direction? Do you walk around as free as you did then? Could you meet me at the station? We'll have casual conversation. We'll relive the past and you'll be on your way. Casual conversations. We'll be together again. We strolled through the park at noon today. I thought about the places that we've never been. I'm sure they look just like you used to paint. And if you had your way, you wouldn't change a thing. Yeah. Do you still run around circles? Has your life changed your complexion? Are you wicked or have you lived like a saint? Could you meet me at the station? We'll have casual conversation, and I'll say all the things that should have told you then. Casual conversation. We'll be together again. I woke up with your voice inside my head.
Yeah, that was awesome, Antonio.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it.
Performance. One of the questions we had right off the bat is addressing guitar tone. Very guitar-oriented city, and your Telecaster sounded great.
Thanks. Yeah, that's my trusty North Carolina Telecaster from the B String, a local shop here. They've been really nice and just build that guitar.
Very nice Telly.
Thanks.
Are you running any amp simulations, or are you any real-time processing with that? How are you handling the tone?
Yeah, I use the Universal Audio Apollo system. So I do have my, can you see that?
Not at the moment.
Oh, yeah, so that's because you can't see that, Now you can see that. There's my console, and I am using, fortunately, I've got one of these, that's an API that's stuck in between windows right now, so just bear with me on that one. But it's the Engel, where's the front of this thing? There it is. It's an Engel. It's the red one, the Retro Tube 100. And I just wanted an edgier sound, so that's why I selected that one rather than the Fender or any others. And there's an LA3A on that as well to control the peaks. I'm glad you liked the tone, because I was weary of it a little bit. I thought the tuning was a little bit questionable for a second there, but I am thankful that it was good for you.
Was that, I guess because there were also trails after the guitar tone. Was that part of the guitar, or was that part of the set?
Trails.
Like little, like delay trails or reverb tails, maybe?
Well, there's some processing. There's a lexicon, and 480. Of course, it's stuck in between windows here as well. That's kind of a little bit of a bug. I mean, I guess it's not a bug. It comes from. You just have to kind of rework it. But I can't do that right now because I am live. So to answer your question, there's a Lexicon 480L, and it's set into a preset that has some delay tails to it. So that's probably what you're listening to.
Yeah, and it sounded great. I think I love seeing guitars as a writing instrument, or as an instrument that's used with live. I think it makes a really good combination. Was that where the song originated, or is that guitar something that came in after?
Good question. This one was written years ago, and it was there's a long story behind the sentimental aspect of casual conversations that those who know, and I don't rather not get into that aspect so much, but it probably started from the pizzicato string line, which is this thing here. Hello. There it is. Which these were actually programmed at first, and I had the pleasure of going to hang out with Laura yesterday at her studio, and she hooked me up and redid those things for me. She played the beautiful short violin lines.
Shout out to Laura, who was helping out early when I was getting an echo in the feed.
Oh, is she in the house? Laura's in the house. So yeah, she's awesome. She's had a great week with great presentations. But anyways, yeah, so that was the initial inspiration, that and, some drama that I was going through. To make a long story short, there was a death in my family. And so this was written for him. And yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting to see how you added the guitar to an other point of inspiration, right? So the pizzy strings were your starting point for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much going for a kind of a epic rock vibe. Probably, or definitely, or most definitely inspired by the Verve. Bittersweet Symphony.
Yeah, with that symphonic element, that was really cool.
I love the symphonic mixed with rock elements thing. I mean, that's amongst the many different styles that I've been able to achieve.
Just don't get sued by the Rolling Stones, Antonio.
Hell yeah, right? I know, destroyed their career.
Yeah, fortunately, yeah. That was a really cool track. Early on, where like pop started seeing what technology could do, and it had some cool sampling in there.
Yeah, I love that track.
Yeah,
so
no, please go ahead.
No, your turn, please.
I was going to ask you about your process a little bit, because you're such a prolific composer. You really write a very varied genre base of music, and it's interesting that you are, despite all the possibilities, still very productive. Do you have any insight into your process that you want to share with us?
Thank you for describing me as prolific. I love to hear that. It's very nice of you. Ideas-wise, I feel like I'm always inspired. Very rarely do I feel like I am at a loss of things to play. There are multiple instruments, and even though I'm not great at some of them, I do my best to, place my hands on them and come up with stuff, get new stuff as often as possible that inspires new sounds. My latest fetish is this mellotron here, which has this. I'm playing the Celeste sound, and you can mix between a sound. I don't know if you can see this window right over here. There's a little screen there, and there's another screen here, and there are two different samples, and you can mix between them. So here's this one. Isn't that cool?
Such a beautiful instrument. I got to play with one at Vintage King Audio in LA
Nice.
like a year or two ago, and it was just such a great thing to play.
It was very inspirational. I just got it from the Moog store here in Asheville, because we have
Oh yeah.
a store. Yeah, I get to go to the place where Robert Moog created.
That's fascinating. Is there a lot of like a big synth community in North Carolina?
I think not so much here, is more of a guitar community. I live in Winston-Salem. But towards Asheville, of course, with Moog there, and I believe Make Noise is based out of there. So there are some modular heads out there, some muff wigglers.
Lots of sources for inspiration, I guess.
Yeah. So.
Well, Antonio, is there anything else you want to share with folks? Been very generous with your time and sharing your music.
Sure. No, I thank people for listening to this, even on the playback or live, just to check it out. And check out my stuff with Audioutlaw.com, which is our Max for Live devices. Some of them are pretty cool, and I decided not to focus too much on that this time. And please stay safe and wear a mask out of respect for others, even if you don't believe. Keep your germs to yourself, please. Yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. Great message. I went ahead and posted the link to your product page at Audio Outlaw in the chat, so people can check that out and support. And very creative instruments. And again, I want to thank you for taking the time to like really share under the hood and kind of share your inspiration with us.
Yeah, thank you, Alberto. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I wanted to let everybody know that we'll be back next week with the 5th installment. Join us again We're going to have Toby Hunke from Ableton Drummer share some really, really incredible stuff that you can do with Ableton Live and drums. And we're going to have fellow Ableton CT Claire Lim talk about processing vocals live with electronic music. And that's going to be pretty fascinating. So stick around and keep checking in, and let's keep building this community together, everybody. Thanks to Antonio and Leah today, and everybody else for watching. Take care.